Hello. Today's lesson is solving trig equations. The number one thing you need to do is know this unit circle right here by heart. Okay? You don't really want to take time out to write it on your paper. Okay, so you're solving an equation. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I get the sine of x is equal to 1. And I need to know on this interval, so one lap around the circle, one lap around this circle, how many times does the sine equal 1? Well, it only happens right there at pi over 2. So it's my only answer. So pay attention to the direction. Sometimes it wants all of them. Remember doing that all. It's like doing inverse trig. Okay? So I'm going to 4 secant x equals -8. You divide by 4 and you get the secant of x equals -2. Well, I don't know that. But I know that the secant is the reciprocal of the cosine, so the cosine of x is equal to -1/2. That I do know. It happens right here, and it happens right here. So I have 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3, and then I have both answers. Okay, here I've got the cosine of x equals positive 9 root 3 over 18, which is root 3 over 2, which is pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. Leave your answers exact in terms of pi. You won't have a calculator to solve these. All right? Okay, those are just basic algebra. Next, you're going to use the square root method. I'm going to add the 1 to both sides. Take the square root. That's the same as the cosine is equal to the reciprocal. When's the cosine equal 1? At 0 and 2 pi. You divide by 2 first. You take the square root and you get the cosine of x equals, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You have to put a plus or minus in here because you took the square root. So that's when it's positive and it's negative at pi. Here you have plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2, which is the same as the square root of 1 over the square root of 2, which is, and the plus or minus, 1 over root 2, which is plus or minus root 2 over 2, which is how we memorized it. Well, that's at all of the pi over 4s, right, up here. So it's here, 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 here. Well, how far is it if I go from here to here on my circle? Well, we don't need to worry about that this time. But you'd list all 4. So pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. You need them all. So don't forget your plus or minus. Okay? Tangent squared equals 3. So tangent equals plus or minus the square root of 3. It's like, well, and I don't know that one on my unit circle, but if I draw my triangle and know it's opposite over adjacent, so this is root 3 and 1, and this is a 2, I know that's a 60 degrees, or pi over 3, and it's plus or minus, so I have pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. All right? One more technique today. It says solve each equation. We're going to change this. Find all values. Or change your interval here to negative infinity to positive infinity. That's better. We'll do that. Cross that out. Okay? By factoring. They want the answers in terms of pi. So you factor. And remember, when you factor, it's always set equal to 0. Can't believe I said that in honors pre-cal, but I did. I need a -3 in the middle, so they're both negative. So I have the sine of x equals 1 and the sine of x equals 2. Well, I know this is not possible, right? Sine value can never be greater than 1. Here, when's the sine equal 1? It's pi over 2. And you have to go all the way around the circle to get back to it, so it's plus 2 pi k. So don't forget the plus 2 pi k because we changed our interval. Okay, set this equal to 0, sine squared, cosine x minus cosine x equals 0. Then I'm going to factor out the cosine x, and I'm left with sine squared x minus 1. And now I have two choices. If I set both factors equal to 0, you want to know when the cosine equals 0 and when sine squared minus 1 equals 0. Well, the cosine's 0 at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2, so I can add pi over 2k. The sine squared, oh, I need an x, equals 1, so the sine of x equals plus or minus 1. So that's at pi over 2 and at 3 pi k, so it's the exact same answer. The sine is 1 where the cosine is 0, so you don't need to list both of those. All right? Your other option there is to replace this, and you'd end up with the cosine of x times the cosine squared of x, and you'd end up with cosine cubed of x equals 0, and you'd end up with the same answers. Okay? Both are correct. Show your work. Okay? Got to factor this one. I'm going to pull up my cosine. I'm left with 2 cosine x minus root 3. Now I have the cosine of x equals 0, and the cosine of x equals root 3 over 2. The cosine 0 at pi over 2 plus pi 2 over 2k. The cosine, and oh, nope, it's just positive. The cosine is positive at pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6, and you have to add 2 pi k to that. So you need all those answers on that one. Got it? Last problem. Set it equal to 0. Factor. The only way to get 2 sine squared of x is a 2 sine x and a sine x. And the only way to get 1 is 1 and 1. And I need a positive in the middle, so that's a positive, that's a negative. So the sine of x is equal to positive 1/2, or the sine of x equals negative 1. The sine of x equals 1/2 at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. And you have to go all the way around the circle to get back to it. And the sine equals negative 1 only at 3 pi over 2. So you'd have to add 2 pi k to that also. Okay, so don't forget. Okay, your homework is to do the other side of this worksheet. Okay, it's posted twice. You don't need to, it's already there. Okay, so just fill in the rest of it. And when you do these bottom ones with factoring, use this new interval, negative pi to pi. Done.